When you look at blockchain today, despite all the billions in DeFi, all the NFT hype, it sometimes feels like the core logic, the smart part, is still kind of stuck, right? Like, not as dynamic as it could be.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
You have this amazing, like, trust layer, this transparency, but the smart contracts themselves often feel, well, rigid, just simple if-then logic.
Yeah, rigid is the perfect word. It definitely feels like it's holding back what developers could really build.
Absolutely. The design space feels limited by that deterministic nature.
Exactly. But what if that could change? Imagine blockchain apps that aren't just following static rules, but can actually, like, reason,
Yep.
adapt, maybe even learn.
Yeah, that's the exciting part. That's where this idea of intelligent applications comes in, basically. Blockchain apps boosted with AI, offering way more dynamic, personalized experiences.
And that brings us squarely to Warden. We're going deep today, looking mainly at their own manifesto, because they're aiming to build the actual infrastructure for this stuff.
Right. Not just an app, but a whole new blockchain. An AI-native, verifiable blockchain designed specifically to power these intelligent applications. That's a pretty bold vision.
Okay, so let's try and unpack that core idea. Warden wants smart contracts to pull in AI, pull in off-chain logic seamlessly.
Yeah, so the contracts can basically understand context, react to stuff happening off-chain, interact with, well, almost anything.
Which sounds like a massive step up from where we are now.
Well, absolutely is. Because, traditional smart contracts, they're deterministic by design. Think of it like pressing a button on a vending machine. Same input, same output every single time.
Which is great for security in a lot of cases, but not so great if you want flexibility or, AI integration, which is often probabilistic.
Exactly. They operate in this kind of closed loop, only reacting to on-chain stuff in a very predefined way. Warden's trying to break down those walls.
And they're serious about it too.
Yeah.
Mentioned something like $4.5 million in founder capital invested already.
Yeah, they saw this limitation and decided, okay, we need something purpose-built. And they've designed this interesting three-layer structure.
3 layers. Okay, what are they?
So you've got the blockchain layer at the bottom, then a verifiability layer, and finally the application layer on top. Each one's crucial.
Got it. Let's maybe drill down into the verifiability layer first, because that sounds key. They talk about these asynchronous verifiable resources, or AVRs. Bit of a mouthful. What's the simple version?
Huh. Yeah, it is a bit technical. Think of AVRs almost like plugins or browser extensions, but for smart contracts. That's the analogy they use.
Okay, plugins. So they add functionality.
Exactly. They let the smart contract reach outside the blockchain, interact with off-chain data, APIs, AI models, you name it.
And the asynchronous part.
That just means the interaction doesn't have to happen instantly in the same block. It can take time, like a real-world request might. And verifiable is obviously critical. You need cryptographic proof that the off-chain thing actually happened correctly.
Right, so a smart contract with an AVR could say, call an AI model for a prediction.
Precisely. But it's more than just reading. The manifesto says AVRs let contracts read from and write to the world.
Right to the world. Like, what? Triggering a payment.
Yeah, imagine using AI insights to trigger a PayPal payment or place an Amazon order or interact with a totally separate blockchain, that kind of thing.
Wow. Okay, that really does open things up. They mention, what, 20 plus pre-built AVRs? And you can build custom ones.
Yep, and the examples they give are pretty compelling. Things like truly personalized DeFi based on your risk profile, analyzed by AI.
Or using natural language, just telling an app what you want in plain English.
Exactly. The AVR handles the translation to on-chain actions. They also mention coordinating AI model training, simplifying DAO governance. Lots of potential.
Okay, so AVRs are the how contracts get smarter and interact outwards. But then how do you trust those interactions, especially with complex AI? That's where the SESX thing comes in, statistical proof of execution.
Exactly. Specs, that's Warden's answer to verifying the outputs from AI models and these AVR interactions. Because you absolutely need trust, right? AI isn't always deterministic.
You need to know the AI actually ran and ran correctly.
And that its output is reliable enough to act on. Specs is their way of providing that assurance.
And they make some big claims about it. Faster, cheaper than other methods. ZKMLs, OPMLs, TEs, like up to 1,000 times faster than ZKML.
Yeah, that's the headline number.
Yeah.
The key idea is it uses statistical sampling and crypto proofs, so you don't need specialized hardware like TEs or the potential delays of optimistic methods.
So it's provably secure, but more practical.
That's the argument. It verifies that the intended model ran, And importantly, it can also assess the quality of the output, like how accurate or confident the AI was.
Okay, so it's not just did it run, but did it run well? That's crucial. Now, another big theme is being chain agnostic. Why is that such a focus for them?
Well, the blockchain world isn't just one chain, right? It's becoming this interconnected web. So being chain agnostic means Warden isn't stuck in its own silo.
They can connect to other chains.
Yeah, they're planning integrations starting with all the Cosmos chains via IBC and Ethereum, also using IBC, and then Hyperlane later. Think of IBC and Hyperlane like secure bridges between blockchains.
So if I'm building on, say, Polygon or another Cosmos chain, I could potentially use Warden's AVRs in my app.
That's exactly the idea. It massively expands where Warden's capabilities can be used, and their partnership with the ICF, the Cosmos Hub folks, is pretty significant.
Positioning Warden as the AI layer for Cosmos.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
Making it easy for any chain connected to the hub to tap into these AVRs and AI capabilities.
That's a smart move. Okay, so building all this requires developers, obviously. What are they offering to make it easy for people to actually build these intelligent applications?
They're working on Warden Studio. The idea is it'll be like a hub, a marketplace. Developers can find AVRs, test them, deploy them, maybe even sell their own custom ones down the line.
Like an app store for smart contract plugins.
Sort of, yeah. And crucially, they're supporting both EVM and Cosmosm. So, Ethereum-style and Cosmos-style smart contracts covering a huge chunk of the developer community.
And the goal is for the user not to even really notice the blockchain part, right? Just
Yeah.
interact with the cool application.
Exactly. Abstract away the complexity, make it feel like using a normal web app, but powered by this verifiable AI and blockchain backend.
Speaking of apps, they have the Warden app itself. How does that demonstrate all this?
Right, the Warden app is their flagship example. It's designed to simplify DeFi. You can supposedly use chat or voice commands like swap my atom for USDC, and the AI figures out the best way to do it and executes it via AVRs.
Making DeFi potentially much more accessible.
That's the goal. Remove the need to understand all the different protocols and steps.
And this ties into their ideas about smart agents, doesn't it? They seem pretty ambitious there.
They really are. They want to build truly autonomous agents that live on-chain. They mentioned this Warden Buffett trading agent as an example.
An on-chain trading bot.
Yeah, an agent that's basically a smart contract, making its own decisions based on strategies and data gets through AVRs. Fully autonomous, living on the blockchain.
How's that different from like existing crypto bots or agent frameworks?
Well, all of current agent setups are off-chain,
Yeah.
which means you have risks like what if the provider shuts down or who controls the private keys. By putting the agent logic on-chain as a smart contract, it becomes more transparent, more auditable, and potentially less ruggable.
Ah, okay. And inherently more trustworthy because it's running on the blockchain itself. They also mentioned intelligent custody and something called Spaceword.
Yeah, Spaceword is their reference app for that concept.
Yeah.
Intelligent custody is about using AI to improve how you manage your assets.
Like personalized portfolio advice.
Exactly. Or AI that monitors for security threats dynamically, maybe adjusts permissions or alerts you based on detected risks, using AI to make custody smarter and safer.
So it sounds like they've been pretty heads down building all this. What does their traction look like? Are people using the test nets? And what's the timeline for mainnet?
They report pretty good early signs. Decent community size, active ambassadors, lots of testnet activity transactions, users. They're realistic, acknowledging some testnet activity might be sibling, but they see it as useful stress testing.
Pushing the system to its limits.
Right. As for the roadmap, mainnet is targeted for Q3 2025. Before that, they're planning to launch the Warden app itself quite soon, actually, May 2025.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, plus ongoing development of Warden Studio, the AVR marketplace, adding features like account abstraction, IBC integrations, and importantly, rolling out that on-chain agent framework.
So a busy year and a bit ahead for them. Let's zoom out again. The whole CryptoX AI space is getting crowded. How does Warden see itself fitting in? What makes them different?
That's a key point they make in the manifesto. They really emphasize their purpose-built design. Unlike, say, existing L1s trying to add AI features later, Warden was designed for this from day one.
So it's not bolted on.
Exactly. They also argue their AVR framework is broader than projects just focused on verifying AI model inferences. Warden aims to handle any verifiable off-chain data or action.
Okay.
And their focus on on-chain agents contrasts with off-chain agent platforms. Plus, they position specs, that statistical verification, as a more practical, scalable solution compared to ZK, Ts, or optimistic approaches for this specific use case.
Got it. They seem to have a clear view of their niche. And just quickly, the Ward token, what's its role?
Standard utility token stuff, mostly. Gas fees for transactions on the Warden chain, fees for operations like using AVRs, and also payments and incentives within the AVR ecosystem itself.
Okay, so wrapping this all up, Warden isn't just trying to be another layer one. It sounds like they're aiming to be the foundational plumbing for a whole new type of application.
That's the core message, yeah. These intelligent applications that can genuinely reason, adapt, interact with the world off-chain, all in a way that's verifiable and trustworthy thanks to the blockchain.
It feels less like an incremental improvement and more like a potential shift in what blockchain apps can even do.
Absolutely. It's about combining that power of modern AI with the trust guarantees of blockchain, trying to unlock capabilities that just weren't really feasible before with purely deterministic contracts.
Which leaves us with a pretty interesting question for you, the listener, to think about. What kinds of things become possible when blockchain apps can actually reason, adapt, and securely interact with the real world? It really opens up the imagination.
Definitely. If you want to dig deeper, check out the links we'll provide, the Warden app, their docs, the website, and that specs paper if you're feeling technical. It's a fascinating project to watch in this evolving crypto and AI landscape.